The weight of high inflation rates and quick monetary tightening have worsened the US economy's prognosis in 2023. Jim Rickards talks about the worsening supply chain crisis, food shortage, economic collapse. Is it the end? Prepare while you can. Jim Rickards is an economist, investment banker, speaker, media commentator. He is the author of Currency Wars, The Making of the Next Global Crisis, and 6 other books. The US is the world's largest economy. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. And today's guest explains what happens here doesn't stay here. James Rickards, author of Sold Out: How Broken Supply Chains, Surging Inflation, and Political Instability Will Sink the Global Economy, says we are heading for a very severe recession. Rickards explains how Jerome Powell and the Fed's rate hikes are going to throw the economy into a recession, and by the time they realize it, it's going to be too late to do anything about it. Host Robert Kiyosaki and guest Jim Rickards discuss Jim's final 2 factors that will affect the global economy and what you can do to protect your wealth. To say that 2022 was volatile and confusing for investors is clearly an understatement. Stocks crashed during most of the second half of 2022, rallied back in July and August, dropped again in September, rallied in October, and faded for the 3rd time towards year-end. Most of the stock market action was the result of narratives surrounding the actions of the Federal Reserve on interest rate policy. The losses in the first half reflected the launch of the Fed's anti-inflation rate hikes in March. Gains in the summer and fall reflected the narrative that the Fed was going too far and would have to pivot to rate cuts and a Goldilocks soft landing. The weakness at the year end was a reality check for markets. Fed Chair Jay Powell made it clear again that he was serious about ending inflation and would continue his tight money policies despite warnings that it was all too much. So what's in store for the market this year? While some might point to an apparently rebounding stock market, Rickards argues that those numbers don't reflect reality. People turn their nose up at small business. But small and medium-sized businesses collectively make up 50% of all jobs and 45% of the GDP, he said. The other half of the country's economy largely comprises the biggest companies: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Tesla. You can't lock down half of the economy and not have severe economic repercussions, Rickards said. From George Washington to the end of the Trump administration, we've racked up about $22 trillion of national debt, all piled on $7 trillion more in the last 2 years, he said. This is unprecedented. The answer, he says, is inflation. Printing more money is ineffective, Rickards said, because it doesn't involve the velocity or turnover of money. For example, at a restaurant you tip the waiter, who then uses that money to pay for a taxi, whose driver then spends that money on gas. That dollar had a velocity of 3. If you stay at home and watch TV instead, your money has a velocity of 0. Money times velocity equals GDP, Rickards said. If you don't have velocity, you don't have an economy. Instead, Rickards said that the dollar must be devalued against gold, which has successfully spurred inflation twice in our nation's history, once under FDR and again, although inadvertently, under Nixon. Rickards also makes suggestions on managing and increasing wealth, particularly with the expectations of implementing inflation. He recommends having 10% of investable assets in gold and working to diversify one's remaining savings and assets. This means having a combination of equities, real estate, and cash, and investing in assets protected by inflation, including residential real estate and natural resources. I hope the book sends the message that you're not hopeless, Rickards said. Even in difficult circumstances, in a pandemic and a depression, there are ways to make money, but you've got to understand the problem and do the right analysis. The system is flashing red, which is bad news. And the good news is, yeah, you're still going to have time to make changes to your portfolio before a recession or market meltdown. To better weather the financial storm, you better make sure to subscribe to our channel for more related videos on what advice financial experts are giving. Thanks for sticking by until the end, and we'll see you in the next one.